Former President Donald Trump, on a day set aside to celebrate those who defend the United States in uniform, promised to honor veterans in part by assailing what he portrayed as America's greatest foe, the political left. Using incendiary and dehumanizing language to refer to his opponents, Mr. Trump vowed to root out what he called the radical left thugs that live like vermin within the confines of our country. The threat from outside forces is far less sinister, dangerous, and grave than that threat from within, Mr. Trump said on Saturday in a nearly 2-hour veterans address in Claremont, New Hampshire. Now let's talk about this. I want people to think about going back to 2016 when Hillary Clinton talked about how Donald Trump supporters, and I don't have the exact language, so I apologize, but how Trump supporters were a basket of deplorables. And there was ample outrage. First of all, I think the outrage was overstated, overblown. Republicans, Trump supporters do a good job at throwing punches. They hate when punches are thrown at them. But nonetheless, people were in their feelings. They were butthurt. And all she did was say deplorable. She didn't promise to wreak havoc on them. She did not make threats to them. She called them deplorables. And she didn't say she was going to hunt them out and root out. But Donald Trump, this past Saturday, comes in and talks about the radical left, and dehumanizes the left. And just so you know, I don't know if I'm radical left or not radical left. Just so you know, in my opinion, in the case of most Republicans, I think anyone left is radical left. But that being said, refer to the radical left as vermin. Vermin is something you hunt. And pledge to root out. Given some of the articles that have broken over the last week, some of the things that people have said over the last week, or not really what they've said, but some of the articles that I've read talking about how Trump is going to run things, how he's going to search people out, how he's going to prosecute people. He had a whole list of people like John Kelly, his former head of Mike Milley, people like that he was going to go after. Now he's talking about going after the leftist vermin. This is dangerous language. This is dangerous language that can get somebody killed. But more importantly, it also is, how do we know these are not promises that he wouldn't carry out if he was elected? How do we know whether or not these are promises that his followers would try to carry out? What you're dealing with here is a situation where you have a former president who is the front runner for the Republican nomination, using rhetoric like this, that whether he does or does not follow through can inspire some of his followers to follow through with. Additionally, one of the things that you run into with comments like this is you have a Republican Party, that looks like they're standing behind him. This morning on Meet the Press, Kristen Welker had asked Ronna McDaniel whether or not she would condemn that speech, and she dodged it. She said she doesn't talk about what her candidates say. But you realize that anything short of a denunciation by any Republicans, be it elected officials, leaders of the party, is an endorsement of rhetoric like that. If Donald Trump goes on to become the nominee, and any Republican who supports him, you have to realize that that is an endorsement of rhetoric like that. And if he's saying things like this in November of the preceding year to the election, you can only imagine what will happen, what will be coming out of his mouth as we get closer to the election. And it's some of this desperation has everything to do with the fact that he may very well, by election day, I won't say very well, but most likely be a convicted felon. So it's something that I want you guys to pay attention to. It's something I want people to dwell on. And like I say, think about 2016 and the reaction when Hillary Clinton talked about a basket full of deplorables. Another thing is, do you think if Barack Obama had ever said anything like that, it would be acceptable to the right? It wouldn't, just so you know, if Barack Obama, Hillary Clinton, Bill Clinton, Joe Biden ever said anything like that, it would not be acceptable to the left. It would not be acceptable to the left. if he were to go ahead, if any of those people were to call out the right the same way that Trump just called out the left. It would be unacceptable to our side.